This show is sponsored by the Comics Shop.
Welcome to Tuesday Chinwag with your host, Leigh Chalker, writer, artist, and creator of the comic series Battle for Buzzle.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Tuesday Chinwag. My name is Leigh Chalker. I am the creator of Battle for Bustle. Battle for Bustle is available in the ComX shop. The reason I mention the ComX shop so early in the show is because of its great importance. There's over 100 Australian independent comic books available in it. It is a $9 flat rate, which means you can buy one comic or you can buy them all. It entirely depends on you. There's a great variety. There's some amazing creators. In actual fact, there's not just some, but they're all amazing creators in their own right. And I would hope that everyone can get onto that because it not just supports them, but it also supports the live streams. So the best thing you can do for ComX in the community is to like them and subscribe them anywhere you can find them. So the best thing you can also do is send comments in because I encourage them immensely so you can be interactive with myself. G'day, Jeffrey. Nice to have you back, mate. Thank you for being here. Hello, Absinthe. How you doing? And hello, Nick May. All right. So for everyone I forget to say g'day to, hello, welcome, and thank you for watching and supporting the show. Like and subscribe them. So if anyone out there hasn't seen a Chinwag before, it's a fluid show because I like fluidity. I like to talk about lots of things with the guests and see where we can go with our conversation. And basically, it's based on who, what, where, when, why, and how. We sometimes cover them. We sometimes don't. We sometimes delve into the depths of humanity and, like to great heights and all in between and, time, space, interface, 3, 4, 5th dimensions. I mean, God knows where these things go. I mean, I've been everywhere, man. Can't you tell? Look at me. So other than that, I think that's just about everything. Andrew, do you think I covered everything in that intro there, mate, or am I missing something?
No, you're missing something.
Oh, yeah?
I'm not telling you what.
All right. If anyone out there thinks I'm missing someone like Andrew, please send in a comment because I don't know. I feel I'm vibing tonight. So Tuesdays are my favorite.
Well done.
Thank you, mate.
I don't know how you remember all that, mate.
How do I get through it all?
How do you remember?
I don't know, man. I don't keep notes. I guess I'm just on the spot sort of dude, man. I like to, run the gauntlet sometimes, Andrew. You know what I mean? It makes life interesting, bud. So it is what it is. But without further ado, the guest this evening, as you may have already seen on his little yellow box there, is Mr. Andrew Law. Welcome, sir, and welcome to the Chinwag family. How are you?
Good. I'm going good today. Yep, had a good day.
Yeah, that's good to hear, man. I've had a good day too. Let's make it an even better night. So, Andrew, man, are you ready to rock and roll?
Ready to rock and roll.
Very good. Who?
Who? I'm Andrew Law. I am a comic artist that was originally a Queenslander, now a Victorian. I've been drawing all my life and discovered a passion for comics, and this is what I want to do, and it's the only thing I've ever wanted to do. So somebody who's worked a lot in my life and always had it as a hobby and as a side gig, and finally starting to put the pedal to the metal to actually get something achieved and a new book coming out and everything, I want to apply what I learned in the workforce, hard worker, to put it into my my artwork and my storytelling, and create some really interesting sort of fantasy sort of comics. Dragons. We all love dragons, don't we? Yeah.
I enjoy the fact that you're delving into the fantasy realm, man, because I've got a little bit of a thing for fantasy novels and bit of an old school like Lord of the Rings and Dragonlance fan myself, and the Belgariad series and things like that. And I saw your artwork. Dave Dye, good evening, mate, and it's lovely to hear from you, man. I've missed you. If anyone hasn't cottoned on to Dave Dye, he's in the Comex shop too. And if you want to see a champion and a legend of Australian comic books, go and get some Dave Dye comic books. I got lots of them, and I love them. I might even have to buy more.
Oh, that was one of the main the ideas behind the drawing fantasy was that's the books, the novels I like, Dragonlance and all that. Used to love reading, and you sort of visualize them, but you couldn't find them in comics. You had a little bit of Conan here, a bit of, here and there smattering, or they'll put a dragon in every now and then. I really wanted to have I think, what was it, Joe Madureira, like Battle Chasers, that sort of, just delve deep into a fantasy comic, and there's not that much out there, there is a few, quite good indie ones, but, I wanted to put my own sort of stamp on it,
Yeah. No, that's cool. You got a real nice style for it too, man. It's nice and clean, and the drawings of the dragons that I've seen are very, very cool. And your characters are good too. I've been looking at your A4 drawings that you're prepping and stuff for, like your Kickstarter add-ons and things like that. And they're very, very nice, man. Which excites me more as well, because it just all seems to really, really rock and roll together. So that's why I had Jeffrey, my mate Ray, and I. We're just talking about the Kickstarter last week. Hey, look at that, Jeffrey, and here's Andrew now for you, mate, so you can hear all about it and get yourself a little bit more familiar with it, And during the evening,
if they got any questions.
Fire questions at Andrew. That's what he's here for. We're fully interactive. Everyone knows that. And this evening, if my wizard friend in the background at some point this evening can pop up, g'day Rob, the Kickstarter address here and there, you'll be able to get directly to it. G'day mates, layham.com. That'll take you to the Kickstarter so you can support Andrew on his fantastical venture of dragons and soothsayers, there's some cool stuff going on, man. But let's take you back to little Andrew, because little Andrew was telling me a story just before the show started about we were talking about a little bit of music, So Andrew was saying that his mum ducked down to the shops and he had a Metallica album and he wanted to crank it, to test out the sound system, and he was chilling out on the floor, just rocking out, and mum came home and scared the hell out of him. So I find that, and myself included, music is an integral part along the creative journey as well, man. So I'm assuming, obviously, with your tale before, you enjoy your music. So what came first, man? A love of music or a love of drawing?
It was a little bit of both. I mean, I've always been into sort of the Iron Maiden and the myth and the stories they tell in their songs. They delve into history and stuff that you just like. Oh yeah, they're telling a tale, not just a soppy love song. But there was always begging mum to buy a record here and there, sort of thing. To particular music that I could get into. But drawing was always there. Drawing, I was that quiet kid that sort of I was always quite happy to sit alone and just draw, and get annoyed when your friends would copy your drawing. And
were you an only child, or you've got brothers, sisters?
I'm a middle child. I got a older brother and a younger sister. They're creative in their own way. My parents always encouraged it. Mum had a friend that we worked in a printer and come home with a great big roll of bloody printer paper off the press, and we'd sit at the end of the table and just reel out and draw and draw and draw and draw. We, unlimited supply of, paper. But she used to tell me off for using a grease paper as tracing paper because that was apparently expensive. But
no bacon that weekend, mate.
Yep.
Hello, Ben. How you going, buddy?
Yeah, it was always something. We used to. Parents used to love watching a lot of those old Disney movies like Jungle Book and Robin Hood and all that. So there's that love of animation, and every cartoon ever. I'm still watching cartoons. I think a lot of them are much better than the live actions that come on TV. And that, Astro Boy and Star Blazers and all that back when I was young. That I'd always be drawing spaceships and explosions and not doing any schoolwork.
Star Blazers still blows my mind. That while it's not my favorite like spaceship design of all time, the little fighters with the tiger stripes on them, I used to like. I couldn't get models obviously when I was a kid, and I used to make like cut cardboard out and put it together and add retrofit it with Lego and anything I could find, and like paint them up with the the tiger stripes and stuff, man.
Yeah,
I loved
I'd try to make the ship like in Lego, but 3 feet long, and use every block we had. So
yeah. Just 100 pack of Lego wasn't enough to do that, man. Like I churned through Lego so much. Mum and Dad ended up buying me like this, a cheaper version of the Lego, man. That wasn't Lego, but it was like I guess I don't know where they got it from, but like 1,000 block set, mate. Just to keep me happy for like $10. And it was pretty cool. Except like my cats and dogs used to steal pieces, but I learned to live with that. These are part of
part of
my
owning
dog.
Lego. Yeah,
Sabotage my toys, man. But I learned to live with it because I love the fella. But yeah, Star Blazers. When you're an Iron Maiden fan, because they've got such iconic characters with Eddie and stuff like that. For any of you that don't know, Iron Maiden covers and their skeletal zombie character Eddie are quite iconic pieces. Was that influencing you at the time? Like just with that sort of, because Number was a pretty iconic album cover, and that during that period.
When I hit 16, it was I had the Eddie the Killers as a T-shirt. I think I bought it like 3 times. I wore it out, and especially heavy metal iconography like the skulls and the Guns N' Roses tops and all that. I used to have ripped blue jeans. And when I was bored, I would get out the texter and draw the Use Your Illusion album cover on one leg and Don't Tread on Me skull on the other leg. And people used to walk up to me and say, "Can we buy them?" I'm like, "No, this is my boredom. This is my boredom time."
You can have it right now. Strip off in the shop, mate. Walk out of there in your undies, $50 up. Job done.
But the problem is you wash them and the ink would go out of them, so you'd have to redraw them.
Or you'd have this weird tie-dye, I guess, on your jeans. Hey, were you wearing your jeans that much that they just shredded at the knees, or did you, go and get a new pair of jeans and then do it, like to look funky?
No, we used to always roller skate. Me and my mates used to go roller skating a lot. So when you inevitably, jump over trolleys with your roller skates on and, hit the deck, you're always ripping, jeans. Yeah, Mum.
So you're a daredevil. You're a daredevil back in the day, man, jumping trolleys and stuff.
Yeah, well, we all sort of pushed each other to, we used to go to the local rink every Friday night and then skate around shopping centres, car parks afterwards. Police every now and then come up and say, "Hey, move on." But some of them were just fascinated by people still on roller skates.
Yeah.
But we used to rip, take it, not just the jeans, but you take chunks out of your knees as well.
Yeah. But that, look, it just adds to the character of your legs, mate, and more stories to
Yeah,
tell. Like when you got the Chinwag, you can talk about the chunks and the divots. Yeah.
it,
And the
it,
little
it grows
growing
back.
section of skin, man, that didn't grow back properly, I'm going to announce that to the world. Hey, when you say, you were saying, like, you were still, people like the police were like amazed that you were still roller skating. Were you like one of those banditos that stuck to the roller skating while everyone else was doing rollerblading? Because I remember, man.
Well, rollerblades were coming in
Yeah.
when we were skating, but like rollerblades were good for the ramps and the street skating, because if you hit a stone, you didn't go half over tit. But because the wheels are thinner. But no, that's why we used to skate around the car parks after they were closed, because it was smooth concrete. If you trip over and hit your knee on concrete, you just wear the skin off. If you trip over and land on bitumen, that's when it takes a chuck out of you.
Yeah. Well,
Things
there's
you
some
learn.
invaluable advice for anyone out there thinking of taking up some sort of wheeled footwear. Like smooth concrete will keep you good, mate. Ray Williams, hey Andrew, how long did it take for you to draw Slayham? I love the art, and I am just curious how long a person takes to draw a page like that. There's your first one, Andrew. Let Ray know, buddy.
So, so a lot of Slayham was drawn in spare time, carrying an iPad around, you know, half an hour waiting to pick up kids from school, 5 minutes um, at lunchtime, at work. When I was, when you weren't exhausted, uh, from work, getting as much in as you want. So it's very hard to actually say how long in a page, but pretty much, if I was to sit down these days and dig into it, um, pencils could be a day or so, inks probably about another day or more, because I usually go to ink and then back to pencils and ink just to embellish. The colors have been a new thing for me for the last 2 or 3 years, and they're um, about 3 days on the colors, because there's still working out the colors. I've got a basic way of getting the basics down, but always going back and just adjusting them, and then matching them to other pages so they all sit, color correction sort of thing. So I'm still trying to figure out a quicker way of doing that. But once if you're doing a 6-page scene, if I get the colors down for 1 or 2 pages, then the other 3 or 4 pages I can get the colors done in about a day or so. Um, but yeah, that's sitting down when you don't have interruptions, and when it flows. Quite often, as artists, we sort of, we hide away in that little dark corner of our room to try and block out the word, just so we can get stuff done. And life still intervenes.
Yeah, it
Um,
does.
but yeah, if I really, like an A3 piece a page, 3 days to a week, page. But yeah, I've been slowly building it up in my spare time over the last 2 years. I took some long service leave off at the start of the year, and really spent some time digging into actually, working on streamlining the process to get it all collated and figured out. I've had a lot of help from Julian, my writer friend who's writing the book. Without his help, it would have been even longer. He's a fantastic fantasy writer in his own right, and has written quite a few novels. And I've always sort of been able to sort of hit the points of a scene that I want, but like he's really embellished it, and I've chopped and changed a few panels here and that, just and added panels to really bring the story out and the emotion in the characters. But it's always a process. It's always a process, but pencils are usually the quickest.
I admire the fact that you mentioned the other fella that is giving you a hand tonight, mate, because it's like majority of the heavy lifting is you, but like there's also, you always have help in the background, man, whether it's people encouraging you or people reading your script or helping you where they can, you know what I mean? And so I think it's important, like to recognize those people as well, mate. So I applaud you for mentioning Julian there.
Definitely, like this story in itself. I had sort of laid out, and because it's the first issue, I'm working on basic storytelling, and I should have paid more attention back at school in English class, but I was always using the folder paper to draw. But you know, like I went through 4 or 5 versions of a script and showed people, and it still didn't make sense to them. But like words of, sometimes I have trouble sort of explaining what I mean, but he was really good at interpreting my gist of what I want for the characters and the growth and the story and all that, and putting it into words that, like, wow, okay, now it all makes sense. And you can't do it all yourself. Like, I've seen a lot of people that try, and you got to, like, if you want your story. Worked in bakeries my whole life, so there's the theory is presentation and quality, right? Presentation will get anybody in the front door to buy the food, the donut, the cake. But if you don't have quality, people aren't coming back. So my drawings are the presentation, and his writing is the quality. The story to get you to come back to find out what happens next, sort of thing. And without Julian, you would be half-assed. It'd just be pretty pictures.
Yeah. No, that's great, man. I do think it's Naughtiest Art. Andrew, g'day, Naughtiest. And Slayham. I might be thinking you got a fan there, Andrew. Like it's someone there, mate. So it's like
that's Nathan Judd.
Yeah.
He's good artist in his own right. Yeah.
Yeah, he is. I've read his comic book, and looking forward to seeing that come into print later in the year, early next year, whenever that gets around to happening, because it's very good. Man, with how did you? While we're talking about Julian, before I flew back a little bit, how did you meet Julian? Like, how the two of you? You seem like you must have known him for a while, because as you were saying, like you could come in with the gist of what you wanted, but he seemed to have an element of adding some nuance to it, like just to sharpen it up a bit. So I'm assuming that would indicate that you both know each other relatively well.
Yeah, I went to Supernova in Brisbane, 2019, 2018, one of them. As a result, I was just trying to sell my art book, the Figment and Flame one, that I kickstarted, and I was just trying to get it out there and shop it around, and had the opportunity to get to Supernova. And I met him there, and we got talking, and I did 5 illustrations for one of his novels. I used to read an old novel and have a nice black and white illustration, like fitted in to the novel.
Mm.
Yeah, I did about 5 illustrations for that. So yeah, we've sort of back and forth and chatted, and known each other for about 5 or 6 years now. And yeah, he's a really nice fella, and fantastic writer in his own right. And I'm just so pleased that he, happy to help me, with this project. His own audience has been really supportive of of this sort of comic, as well, being fantasy based and all that. Yeah, I can't speak more highly of him than he's fantastic with his writing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and that's it's he like I sort of throw sort of half, this is what I thinking of this character is like, and this, and he'll take it to the next level, and I'm just like, see the words in the script come back, and I like, wow, like I don't need to change any of that. Like, that's just spot on. That's how did he mind read me, yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
cool when you get a
yeah.
chemistry like that, man. I completely understand that, man. I've been very lucky to have chemistry with some fellow creators, particularly um, like on a comic book I was involved in last year, Ring Around the Rosie, with Ben Sullivan,
Mm,
Ryan Valley, and Rob Spedsy Lyle. We just something clicked on that, like, and it was really cool feeling, man. Still to this day, I'm very lucky to have Peter Wilson helping me on Battle for Bustle as well, and we click as well. It's a strange sort of um,
it's it's it's
you're
it's
talking
it's
about
it's
something,
it's
and he's giving it back, and you're
it's
like, but that hasn't, it hasn't
yeah,
even come out of my mouth, man. How did you do that?
yeah,
Like, yeah, it's crazy. Yeah,
yeah.
it's really cool, man.
It's it,
With
it's a connection that you seldom get, because you usually in your own little world drawing away, and
yeah,
then
yeah,
when you connect with somebody who's just on the same wavelength creatively, you're like, wow, like it's just I guess it's like finding a good band member or something like that, and
yeah, 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 yeah.
play,
No, that's what
elevating
I
the
put it
music.
down to. It is like it
Yeah,
is the chemistry. I've spoken about that before, man. Trying to find chemistry. Chris McQuinlan, so keen for this book, man. Been enjoying watching it come together over the years. All right, Chris, welcome to the
thanks,
show,
Chris.
and thank you for watching and supporting your mate Andrew. It's
Chris is a great artist in his own right, and he's
Mhm.
like his art's fantastic, and he's been really supportive. And I've he worked for a little time at the secret headquarters comic shop in Beaconsfield here, and to go in to get your comics and end up bouncing ideas back and forth, and doubts and all that. And he's very encouraging. Yeah, he's a
Yeah,
great
yeah.
guy. Yeah,
When I'm going to come back to doubts because I it's always an interesting topic. Like I've noticed it seems to come up a lot of late. But we're gonna flip back to little Andrew, and he's busted out Metallica and stuff like that. You're drawing with your family. Mum and dad are working in the printer business. So you've got paper. You're not allowed to touch the grease paper, but you're just stealing it anyway. To hell with the Lamingtons and the lemon meringues or whatever your mum wanted to make that weekend, and you want to get
yep.
into your drawings. What was what was the comic book other than, like, your cartoons with Astro Boy, Star Blazers? You would have been into Robotech and all that, and Battle of the Planets. I'm assuming that would have oh, man, I can't believe so few people remember Robotech. What is, come on, like, oh man, the
Um,
Invid, so cool, to this day. I love the
yeah,
Invid.
yeah, like I've been catching up a lot of it. The Macross, the Japanese origin of Robotech, is now on Disney Plus. And they did a whole heap of series. Star Blazers, the space battleship Yamato. That's
Yeah.
on Crunchyroll, and with a updated version that you can actually like. The old cartoon was great, but it's a lot of just moving mouths for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But comic books was uh, look. I remember grade 3. I got a How to Draw Bugs Bunny and Friends book. It's up on the shelf somewhere there. With like only half existing. But there was a lot. It was a lot like everybody else in Australia, where you just picked up what you could at the comic shops, at the newsagent. You had like Transformers 4, number 4, and number 7. There was an annual in there somewhere. There was a few Phantom comics. My brother was a big Phantom comics. When I was about 10, my brother gave me a whole heap of his old comics because he was tired of the continuing narrative of a comic. It never ended. So
Yeah.
he just wanted to know the end of a story. So I got a lot of old JLA black and whites from the 70s and stuff. I wish I still had today. I think there was a few GI Joes in there. I remember buying GI Joe in the newsagent because and it had Tomcat in it because Top Gun had just finally just come out, like, and just a lot of here and there sort of things. It wasn't till like I was there was a bit of a gap to I was about 16, 17, and we'd go roller skating and found the comic shop in Ringwood on the way back and buy a few Spider-Mans and there was some what's the name of the crossover? Can't remember. And I just started buying a few because they were sort of dipping me in, and I need to get the next one, and I need to get the next one. But it definitely wasn't till I got my apprenticeship as a baker, and I would sneak down after work to a comic shop, a couple in Cheltenham, and they had out the back they had $1 bins of all the old Image comics. Well, I don't think they were that old then, but I go in. Oh, it's only $1, but and you go, oh, I like this one, and then you end up spending $70 worth of $1 comics. And coming out with
No,
a stack.
guilty of that. Yeah. The comic. I'm only going
Um,
down for a couple of comics and walk out there with like a box full. You're like, yeah.
But then it became a ritual every Friday afternoon. Get the pay packet and jump on the train down to Windsor to alternate worlds and um, uh, buy a 4-pack of Jack Daniel's stubbies, about $50 worth of comics, and a pizza on the way home, and that was my Friday night. And then back to work on Saturday morning. But but that's what the end of the week reward. After working all week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you got on the
But
back of your shelf? Like what talking to comic books? Because I'm just going to use my powers of deduction and think that you may have read a few things there, man. Like what's floating your boat these days?
Well, a lot of Darren Warren Johnson lately. The Murder Falcon and Extremity, and Carl Kerschel's Isola, which is a great fantasy sort of thing. Is it two volumes in? But a lot of Image comics because they're. Yeah, I love reading superhero stories when they're done well, but I've gotten to the stage where, it's always hitting your bank account. But the superhero stories, when they're done right with a good artist and a good writer, I'll pick up and I'll follow. But majority is just dipping into Image comics and finding old finding collections of old comics that I had, like Crimson and Danger Girl and Battle Chasers and I still got to find some that Chris Bacallo's steampunk.
It's amazing
Amazing
how
how many
many
got
people got their comics in Ringwood, says Nick May. There you go. I'm not
Yeah, it
down
was
that way, but you do hear about that area, man. Like it seems to have been a bit of a breeding ground for like creatives and stuff like that. And
well, it was right next to the train station. So like as we catch a train to Bayswater, the train normally went to Ringwood, so you had to hop off, and you had 10, 20 minutes. So you just walk around the corner and see what was there, and jump back on the train to Bayswater. So yeah, it was accessible.
yeah. No, that's cool. I I used to I worked at a Woolies for many years when I was a young fella, and I did the morning shift, man, opening up the whole joint from like 4 a.m. in the morning till like lunchtime, and lunch was at like 8:30 in the morning. So it was like newsagent across like from so straight over there, and I'd buy a comic every day, and I did that for years, man. Like, and you don't realize how many you start racking up, hey? Like until you sort of like have a look, and there's just piles and piles of comics, and you're like, oh, like I'd better slow down, and that's when I
Well,
discovered the dollar man. And it was like
yeah,
bargain.
yeah, yeah.
In my mind, I was economizing, but really I was hoarding. But you do these things, man. Don't regret
There's
it,
still a
Steve.
few up there. There's still a few
Mm,
up there from those days. They're somewhere
yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I like,
I
man.
had
I love
I
the
had
fact you've got that in the background because it's like there's so many. I love when I meet like people like on Tuesday chinwags and stuff. Like I'm not like a someone that like peers in, a voyeur or anything like that. But I do like to like have a look at what's going on in the background sometimes, man. And I get particularly excited when I see bookshelves, like full of books. Like you used to, I don't know, man, but you'd say you're out and you'd be out with your mates somewhere and you'd be having a good time when you were younger and that, and you go back to someone's house for beers and shit, and like, and you'd roll into their house, and some houses you'd be a little bit like, no, like that's cool, it's got a chair and stuff, like and a fridge, it's perfect, but then you'd go into some, and they'd be like
mm,
this, like wow, like man, look at what you're reading, and you just have your mind blown, man, by what other people were picking up, around the places and things, and yeah, like still got some really
yeah.
good mates days from that,
I had a friend who used to work in newsagents, and he got paid in pretty much books, and he had 2000 ADs, and like he's got so much good stuff that just I was like, where do you get this stuff from? Like I could never find it, but like he just had it all, and they would just the old Slane comics and all that, and I'm not just like Lobo comics and all that, all the really stuff like you
yeah.
go, don't you have to be an adult to buy this?
Yeah, no,
But
man, I remember coming across like I lived in Gulliver when I was younger, and I was only like man, a short bike ride, or I'd walk my dog when I was living with mum and dad down at the newsagents on the main, sort of semi-arterial, highway road, I should say, and man, these two dudes ran the shop. Man, they're no age, You could have walked in there and bought anything, man. It's like, they were just like, yeah, whatever. They were too busy like watching the football or listening to races and betting on the, old newspaper TAB, mate. It's like, yeah, $4, like, and that was back in the
the
day.
sale's a sale.
Dude, my dad, and if there's kids out there, don't try this and don't do this to your kids, but I'll tell you a story of how like loose it was back when I was this age. If I was going to this newsagent, man, my dad, who smoked, right, a pack of 30s, Winnie Reds, man, a day, right? He would write me a note like on a little yellow not sticky, man. And it would say, "My name is Lawrence Chalker. I give permission for Leigh to buy me these Winfield Red cigarettes," right? And he'd give me $20. And I'd go down there and hold out, like, you know, the post-it note to these newsagents dudes. And they'd be like, "Yeah, mate, we know your dad," you know, like chuck it down, and like whatever the change was, I could get comic books. But yeah, these dudes were loose. So they had 2000 ADs and everything as well, man. And I soon learned that you could buy like 2 or 3 2000 ADs for the equivalent of like one, you know, like Marvel comic at that point, because 2000 AD was done on like, you know, newspaper stuff, you know, before it went to the glossy pages and things. And yeah, I cottoned onto ABC Warriors and Bisley and Slain and Necropolis and like all these really like, wow, you know, I ain't never seen anything like that, you know. So
yeah, I found a couple. We got across to England to visit my dad's family, and I walked into a little English comic shop looking for something, you know, and found a couple of 1988 Judge Dredd and 2000 ADs, and yeah, open it up, and there's Judge Dredd driving along the highway, and a tornado takes him. It's all black and white, and oh, this is really cool. And the next page, he's in the Wizard of Oz, and I'm like, what acid trip is this? Like, like they're so cool. Like, you know, even to this day, they'll blow your bloody mind. You know, it's so wicked. You know.
Oh man, they did, man. That was like that was my foray out of like superhero stuff into like man, like just dudes just cutting sick with their imagination. You know what I mean? These creators and whoever at the time the editors were of those comic books, man. You know, like hats off to them for, you know, like putting some of those stories out there, because they are wild. I look back on them now and I'm having my little, you know, like little reflective moments and going through my boxes, and I'm like, wow, man, I was like 11 reading that, and you're like, wow, you know, like, but it, and you know, like some of those things like still stuck there, you know, like my mum would have seen me reading some of those comics, man, like, oh, you know, like that would have been the end of my comics days, you know. But that's how it is. But when you're hooking into your dollar bins and your mates, and you're roller skating around, and your mates are like, you know, cruising, and you're finding the comic shops, and you're doing some traveling, so comic books were fairly convenient for you to duck around, pick up some things, and they're lighting the fire while you're in your bakery stage, and you were, you know, going through your apprenticeships and all that. Were you still drawing, or you were just focused on the bakery and, you know, like, and reading, so like filling your mind full of info and styles and things?
Yeah, I was always drawing. Always. You know, it's something that is that sort of it was a way of decompressing, you know, the daily life, you know. You know, sit down and draw dragons, and sit down, you know, and you know, copy whatever was around. You know, I remember doing a really wicked, you know, Ninja Turtle and the Spider-Man 1999 and all that. Yeah, 2099. Yeah, just because the skull on his chest. Yeah.
Yeah.
And always sort of kept it up. It wasn't until I was sort of hit, you know, work got really serious, and people were talking about, you know, buying businesses and running businesses, and realizing how long hours running a bakery business would be, 13 hours a day from 2 in the morning. And my brain went, you really just want to be drawing, you know. And I hit like about 25 years old, and I just was like, no, I want to draw comics. You know, I want to. This is what I love. This is what I love reading. This is what I like drawing. You know, let's start learning. You know, and back then we didn't have YouTube, so we got plenty of books, how-to books, any how-to book that I could pick up from any place. You know, learning Photoshop from a bloody manual that took 6 months to do what you can find on YouTube with 5 minutes nowadays.
Yeah.
No wonder there's so many kids creating these days. There's
Mm.
so many tutorials. But yeah, from 25, I was just like, yeah, that's when I started drawing pages, and it only sort of dawned on me, like, it took me for a while because I was always drawing my own sort of characters and dragons and that, but they were also fantasy based.
Mm.
But um, I was trying to get pages drawn of superheroes and like just showing my work here and there of superheroes doing this, because that's what I thought you had to do. You had to you know go work at Marvel or DC. You needed to draw
Yeah.
superheroes. You needed to draw them good. You needed to draw a city, which I still can't draw. For Spider-Man to swing through. But
Lots of smoke,
it wasn't
Andrew. Lots of smoke, mate.
draw fantasy. You didn't just draw forests. It's much
There
easier.
you go.
Um,
Hey, there's some helpful
but
hints for anyone out there struggling with cities. Smoke. And
I always had trouble with straight lines. Straight lines on anything was always my downfall. It goes back to the days where you try and rule with a pen and you move the ruler and it smear your work that you just spent hours on. Um,
I feel you.
to feel the pain.
Oh yeah, man. I'm pretty sure
Um,
anyone's seen my final artwork pages, if they were going to, match panels and that, they're off and squiff. I don't know what I do, man. Like, I can't draw a straight line to save myself either, Andrew. It's what do you do, man?
no,
I just adapted. I gave up. I just sort of hatched now. KJB, g'day, fellas, and all the chinwaggers. Welcome back, KJB. It's always good to have you, mate. Thank you for watching. I tend to try and stay away from rulers these days, man. Like, I don't know why. It's you just look, man. It's just you do what's comfortable. Hey, it's no, there's no straight lines in my comic books. If you're looking for straight lines, mate, you ain't gonna find them in Battle for Bustle, that's for sure. Everything's crooked. But it is what it is. But look, man, I used to try and draw too. I didn't want to wear glasses for a long time. I wouldn't give in to the fact that I couldn't see a foot in front of my face, And it wasn't until one day that I realized that it was basically my nose on the top of the page, like that I could draw lines. So I suspect that may have something to do with the fact I may not be able to draw straight lines. But, it is what it is. And there you go.
There's not many really straight lines in nature. People will argue the point, but it's only cities and a human need to make everything in a straight line.
Well, that sounds like to me the old philosopher from the 60s and 70s, Alan Watts, mate. Alan Watts is one of his beliefs is not everything has to be in a straight line and like set on a particular destination, because man is the one that makes straight lines. And if you look out into nature, as you just said, there's no straight lines. Everything just works in its organic way, mate. And there you go. It's strange how things connect, but that's what that thought process of yours there reminds me of, was Alan Watts suggesting that. But I like the fact that so you're 25, you're like, man, this is what I want to do.
Yep.
You're thinking at that point, because you would, like, as we've just spoken on and touched on, there's not a lot of YouTube, there's not a lot of like shows you can like really find out a lot of info. You're buying books as I used to buy trade paperbacks, because they'd have the 10 or 12 pages in the back that'd show pencils and then an inked page. And that was, times that I used to grasp, like, oh, that's what it looks like, things like that. And then so you're teaching yourself at this point, and you're doing superhero stuff. That's what you thought, but you're trying to, your fantasy, it's burning. What
Yeah,
Did you have to draw
it was a
short
friend of
stories,
mine.
or did you just bang go
I
straight into something big?
I tried to draw my own stories, and I've got shelves full of failures. That like I'd get like 3 or 4. Yeah, I discovered that I could draw scenes, but not draw the whole book. And I it was still that artist sort of thing in your head where you're trying to get better, you're trying to be the best artist in the world, and you're not really focusing on storytelling, but you're trying to focus on getting the things looking great.
Mm.
And a good friend of mine smacked me over the back of the head and went, look, I can see your passion in your fantasy characters. Why are you trying to draw superheroes?
Yeah.
Well, I thought that's what you need to do to become a comic book artist. But it just wasn't gelling. It always sort of, it was always a little bit, it was like drawing cities. It was a little bit foreign. Like, I love reading the superhero stuff, but when I look back at everything I've drawn on my shelf, that was sort of, I tried to draw pages and show people.
Mm.
Um, there was a definite difference in quality. There's the passion in the fantasy stuff, and it was more. Still, I'm trying to work out how to draw superheroes. Everything. You know, anatomy and all that sort of, and buildings. It always reminded me of the essays at school that you had to write, which I just
But you weren't
you know
feeling it. Mm.
that
Yeah.
weren't feeling it, and I think that's where the passion was when that happened. I was like, well, I'm just going to work on my own stuff.
Yeah.
Um, that's where my first comic came in. I actually produced um, uh, met a guy, Jason, who was writing a fantasy story, and we produced one comic. It should be 2 issues. It took me 4 years to get the first issue created. But it was a lot of fantasy stuff, and he sort of came from that sort of, the battle chasers sort
Mm.
of, background, same as me, and it was great to actually produce. I was having a ball. Took me a long while because my whole life I've been always put working in bakeries is the hours, and I had
Yeah.
kids young,
Yeah.
mortgage and all that sort of stuff isn't conducive to actually sitting down and drawing anything.
For sure.
But determination was always there, and that's been a huge driver. And actually got the book finished, and they did a small print run. Still got 30 or so on the shelf, from
Andrew,
about 10 years
where
ago.
can anyone that wants to check those books out reach out to you to get some, man?
They'd have to grab them off the shelf because I'm incredibly proud of the effort, but I'm doing that little bit of an artist thing of, I don't really want to show people the artwork, but there's some cool art in it. I think I produced some cool art in it.
Don't be embarrassed, mate.
Um,
Like, everyone starts somewhere, man. It's like it's good to show that stuff, because
no,
I
but I think I sold a couple of hundred of them. I
yeah,
think,
yeah,
they did get out there. But it was only a small run. It was what we could afford.
yeah.
There was no Kickstarter around at the time.
So that was back in, like, that was at a point where you didn't have your, like, now you can go to printers and you can rattle off 25, you can rattle off 50, you know what I mean? Like, was that back in the day where you were at the offset printers and you had to do your minimum orders and
Yeah,
things like that?
I think we printed. I think we printed 200 of them. I think that's what we could afford at the time. I
Yeah, yeah,
think
yeah,
10 years ago now. My memory
yeah.
isn't good for yesterday, let alone 10 years.
Oh man, yeah. Look, no, I'm with you, mate. Like, it happens. Hey, sometimes I haven't got to the point though where, like, I've forgotten to put my shoes on to go to work or anything like that. So
I,
some people do.
I turned up to work last year with odd shoes on. The same brand.
And come on now, you've revealed this to the Australian comic book public, Andrew. You've got to go. Why?
Because I was running out the door to get to work at 4 in the morning. You just grab anything in the dark, and there's a left, there's a right shoe, and you're halfway through your day, and somebody looks down and goes, one of your shoes black and one of them's blue.
Yeah, and that's a new trend, mate.
What
the whole workforce.
What can I do about it now?
Nothing. Be more careful tomorrow to collate your shoes in the correct order, man. I guess But that's funny, man. Hey, I work with a dude who must forget his shoes every 2 or 3 weeks. It's like he just send you a text message, I'm running late. Like, oh, I forgot your shoes again. Yeah. It's like, man, just buy a spare pair, leave them in the car, you drongo, whatever. But hey, everyone's their own person, man, so it's all good. So you've created that one. What age? You said that took you about 4 years. Because, I mean, man, credit to you for determination too, man, because it's like 4 years, you've got kids, mortgage, wife, you're working those hours. Like, from delving into my recollection, man, when you're putting 4 or 5 days of getting out of bed at 3 o'clock in the morning, trying to be at work at 4, you work until 12, 1 o'clock, and then you try and have a normal life, which, you're not coming home for a snooze. You're trying to push it out, man, to do everything. And you're wrecked by the end of the week. It leaves zero energy.
You go into bed at the same time as your kids,
Yeah.
There's not that's not much time. Like, it was always, I'm going to go pick up the kids, and and the wife would go, but it's only 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah, but I'll get an hour drawing in before picking up the kids. There's always trying to squeeze in stuff everywhere. 5 minutes at lunchtime, and just I need to work on a panel, so I would cut the page into 4 and just take the panel and carry it around with me for a couple of days until I got finished. It was just, how else am I going to get it finished?
No, man, that's beautiful, man. That is sheer determination to want to finish a goal, man. That's an awesome thing. Because a couple of months ago, I was very lucky to have Dylan Naylor on Chinwag, and one of the things at that stage, he was saying that he takes his kids out and about to do their things, and he takes a drawing pad with him as well. So if he's waiting, you know what I mean, he's in the car drawing and that. So it's you got to do it where you can, in what time. I mean, that's just how you fit everything in your routine to do it.
And that's cool. Where I'm glad technology is caught up with things like iPads and the PC version of whatever it is, because you could carry it went from taking pens and inks and making a mess in the car on a drawing board before school pickup, so you can take an iPad with your work on it. Yep. You could complete a page. You could pick up where you left off. You could carry the whole book around you and work on whichever page you needed to. All of a sudden, this whole book's following me around that I can actually, But back then, it was it was a lot of ink spills and a lot of, kids would jump in the car and sit on the drawings, and it's no.
Well, no, you're nearly wah! But you can't, because you're nice with kids. They don't mean it. They're just happy and enthusiastic. And they want to hang around. But no, mate, I'm one of those dudes that's 100% traditional. I got around my ink spills by moving on to, weirdly enough, I'm holding one in my hand. These markers, man, and I do majority of that, and to get around, Indian ink I use when I'm here, because this space that I do Chinwags in is my studio. But if I do them anywhere else and I'm mobile, it tends to be pencils, and I use paint because I find a little tube of black paint is pretty handy as well, with like a little tiny feathered paintbrush, because you can get them cheap as houses, man. So if you haven't got any water, oh well, like it's one paintbrush. So, but you just
even the brush pens,
yeah, it's adaptability. Everyone's different processes, man. But what do you so do you spend as much time drawing on the iPad as you do traditionally? Because I've noticed you've been cutting sick with your live stream drawings for the Kickstarter.
like when I've got time to draw on pen and paper, I want to draw on pen and paper.
Yeah.
Majority of the book is all iPad. Some of the sketches, like 5 minutes at work, you would you'd look around the lunchroom and you'd find a union leaflet, and you'd draw on the back of it an idea, and you get it home and you take a photo with it, put it on the iPad, and then you always find sketches. There was I used to have all these little rough bits of paper sketches of what I wanted the story to be, sort of like just scribbled in at lunchtime. So I think when you got 5 minutes, to draw. But like 99% of the time on the iPad now, because I'm carrying it everywhere and taking it with me everywhere. When I get time and sit 5-10 minutes in the car here and there, or doctors' offices. You go to the doctors, it's great. Oh yeah, take your time. I'm busy drawing.
You're not even there to see a doctor, Andrew. You're just dropping in just to draw. Who's this dude, man? Like I'm just here to draw, man. Aircon, water.
This guy's been there all day.
Just let people go in front of you. I'm right, mate. Walk out of closing time.
No, but I love when I get a holiday. I love when I get a holiday, because I can sit and I get the inks and the pens and everything out and just let rip on paper, and create something, a little bit different than what you're just working on, building up your book. Is that one time you can go, I'm going to draw whatever I want, and whatever I want is going down on paper, because I want a record of it. Don't want it to be lost in the filing system of technology that you're never going to see again until you dipping down a dark hole trying to find an odd file and go, oh, I remember that. I try anything that I've sketched on the iPad, I try and print out and stick on the wall, just so there's a visual, a paper version of it, because otherwise it's it's all in this blank slate of a thing, down the rabbit hole that you forget that you drew stuff, and you forget that there was ideas you're working on to finish, which reminds me of a drawing I started last year that I was doing for the wife, which I haven't finished yet, of the labyrinth, the characters from the labyrinth. That's what I'm going to do. Print it out, put it on the wall, then I'll remember to finish it.
There you go. See, that sounds like a good idea. Because that's how originally my wall in here started, was when I was doing like the early, started doing like a short story marathon a couple of years ago, and man, that was back in my drinking days, and I just didn't have a good memory. I don't remember doing a lot of stuff, but instead I couldn't remember where I was putting pages and doing things. So what I started off doing was taking photocopies of the pages, so I'd at least have reference, instead of going, where did I leave that? Because I won't go too much into it, but anyone knows if anyone's been a regular drinker every day, very heavy, you tend to lose a lot of shit, even if you think you got it in order. It's like things can disappear, and you've no idea where they go, and it's horrible. But
but I haven't had the best of memories. I go, and I forget things, like sometimes, some days I can't organize myself, unless I have the right vitamins and the right cup of tea at the right stage of the day and all that. So I've got like 8 pin boards on the wall, and every time I get, I'll print out stuff and stick pin it up, because I'll start drawing something that I've already drawn, or I've progressed it further than what I need, and I'll start drawing something again, and I haven't remembered that I had drawn it. So,
Yeah.
so it starts to become a little bit like those movies where you've got scenes just pinned up all over the wall to try and make sense of a timeline, and it becomes a bit of a mess. But you can look at it, and you know where you are. You know where you are in your process, or you go, oh, I can finish that or add that. Yeah, I understand what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, man, I
Yeah.
get that because I've mentioned it before. It saved my life a lot of times doing it in the way I've done it. Because when I did Battle for Bustle 4 years ago, and I've spoken about this on the show before, man, like the comic exists, but I can't remember like finishing pages, starting pages. Fuck, man, it was just like a 32-page comic book that there's like, since I've been sober and I've gone through the pages, there's like 64 or 66 pages, man. Some of them have been drawn double and triple. And it's like, what was going on? Like just no idea, man. So like, yeah, I'm quite particular about things now and don't like going back. And yeah, like yourself, I used to draw some panels were like I'd be happy with, obviously, and then the rest of the pages weren't, so I'd cut them out and like I'd glue them onto pages and try and work things out too, man. Like, so it's yeah, and do silly things too, man, because you got to remember little
it's a
nuances.
visual medium.
Yeah, it is a visual medium, and like things like I did one, man. How, like, seriously, man, like I'll tell people because it's like I'm honest with people, and I drew in Battle for Bustle issue 4 a character that had an eyepiece over her right eye in the previous issues, and somehow in Battle for Bustle issue 4, for the whole comic, it's over her left eye. And thank God, before I printed it, the people that were reading it before it went to get, like from the proof section, went, hey, and
wait a minute,
nah. And then I went back and I was like, what? Like, what have you done? Like, you idiot. So I had to go back.
It's that
like,
young.
Hey, Red.
It's that young Frankenstein movie where Gene Wilder, where the eagle's hump moves from side to side, and wasn't your hump on the other side? No.
Yeah.
But asking people about memory tricks years ago, people say if you try and remember something, you format whatever it is. I need to pick up milk, right? You form it in your head, but because it's not solid and it's not a memory, you can forget it, right? So if you write it down, milk, your brain has seen it. It becomes a memory. You're more likely to remember it, right? But I applied that to my drawings because you're constantly visualizing things in your head. If I don't get them out and put them on the wall, they poof, they've disappeared. So yeah, having a visual representation of what you're doing around you helps you move to the next thing and helps the brain be a little bit more organized. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%,
Yeah,
man. I
because,
think that's a good piece of advice because things that I've heard of too, like when people do set themselves targets and things like that, visualizing, like what they want, they try and, what's the word that they use these days where you're creating something? It's like, it's the spiritual, I can't think of it now. Maybe someone out there can send in a message, and let me know. But they're all a suggestion of like write everything down, because that manifesting and all that people do now. You know what I mean? Like, this is what I want, and I'm going to do this, and and writing it down. If you write it down, it becomes a real thing. Like it's written, it's there, it's sort of committed to it.
It's a reality. It's in reality now instead of in your thoughts. And thoughts can be they can disappear. Like especially with bad memories.
Yeah. Well, you gotta love that old subconscious, you know what I mean? Like it's
the plays tricks on you,
and then it's like, like, man, like, where have you gone? It's like that was the greatest thing that ever happened. I wonder how many people ever got stuck with that happening to them. I'm sure quite a lot. So when you printed your comics and you've worked out, like, I like that you mentioned those things, man, because one thing in the chats on Tuesday nights and stuff, I do like getting little hints from people as well, for myself and people that catch it now or sometime in the future, as to like little bits of assistance, like that may like some things may help and gravitate towards some people's styles of doing things. Other people may pick up something different, but I think that's very helpful, man. To just let people know as well, because I'm going to sort of tie that into with doubts that we were talking about before, because we how I'll bring that together is because when you were talking about your first work that you did, that you printed like 200 pages from, and I was talking to you like, well, where can people get that? And you're a bit, like it lives, but some of it's okay, like. And you were talking earlier about your doubts. What are your doubts personally with your creativity that afflict you? Because I ask this not to leave you open, but to be honest, I guess, with other people out there, because there's a lot of people in the community and other artists that are trying to get better and getting to a particular level that they want to get to, to see improvement in their work, and they feel doubts, as I do often, and obviously you've alluded to. Like, what are some of the things with your creativity that leave you a little bit, where am I at?
So I had like I look at like talking to a lot of other artists. I find a lot of other artists struggle with their own work and their liking of their own work. And I've one of those who, you have to be self-critical to get better.
Yep.
And I find a lot of artists I know are too overly
Self-doubt,
critical
the
about
comic
their
artist
own.
motivational tool. Well said, Nick, and it is absolutely.
Yeah. But they're a little bit too critical of their own work, right? And you have to and it becomes more, it becomes emotional for them. The what they're feeling about their work and how they don't like it reflects on their overall mood, and they the we've all sort of had bouts of depression and stuff, that where you're just not good enough, you're never going to get anywhere. We all struggle, right? But my auntie told me years ago, all your drawings all your art you create, don't ever get rid of it. um Now I've got shelves full of all my art that I've ever created over the last 20 years on my shelf. I used to put them in scrapbooks and all that, because the idea is you had a good idea, but you weren't are experienced enough to execute that idea well. And if you look back at you go back and you look through some of your old work, you go, oh, I remember that idea. Oh, I can do that better these days, and you can achieve what you couldn't. And a lot of people have this sort of they they don't know that it takes time to improve. Um, you know, there's whole shelves down there that I'm not ever going to show anybody, you know, because I don't consider it, good, but it takes all that
Yeah.
to get good. It takes mistakes, it takes trial and error. Like I still struggle, you know. Someone I was talking to as a friend the other day, and they were asking me, how I do my pencils and inks and stuff, right?
Mm.
Now, sometimes I can sit down, what I call the fluke drawing. Sometimes I can sit down and draw something. I'll do the basic and that basic pose, and then I'll draw over the top of it, and it'll come out like finished pencils, right? And then I can go straight to ink, right? This is the one in 10,000 fluke drawings I call. Every other drawing is I'll draw the basic pose, and I'll lighten it down, and I'll draw over it with a little bit more details, facial expressions. Don't like it, lighten it down, draw over it, and five goes, five goes before I've got something I like in the pencils at least, and then I'll move to inks, because I find sometimes if I skip from the third go to inks, I'll go back to the pencils because I haven't got the expression in the eyes right, or the mouth right, or something, or you flip it over or look it up at the light, and so it's still, you know, you watch all your favorite artists draw these fantastic poses and all that, and still to this day, 20 something years after I want to do comics, you sit there and you flip it and you go, oh God, it's still, eyes are out of whack and the head's over to the side.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, it's still there, There's sort of that myth of people that can draw well don't struggle with it. It's always a struggle. You just got to get to those last 5 minutes. My goal with any drawing is to get to those last 5 minutes of the drawing, because I know 70 to 80 to 90% of the drawing is it's getting there. I need to change this. I need to do this. I'm not looking right, and all this. And you keep hammering away at it, and you're getting almost finished. In that last 5 minutes, you all of a sudden, oh, it's starting to come together. It's starting to look what I want it to look like. And that last 5 minutes is like, it's finally, it's got there, and I can just embellish a little bit to improve it, sort of thing. And that's the joy of it all. And you got to realize that it's still a hard slog to get to those last 5 minutes.
Oh yeah.
No matter
Yeah.
what you do. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
100%.
it's just perseverance and determination. And being it for it's a long haul. You talk to some creators and they're full of ideas, and they're fantastic and all that. That's great, but you have to put in the hard work to get there. It's there's so many time lapse videos and people on YouTube, and look what I did. Here's Todd McFarlane. Look, this is how you draw this. But you if you're experienced enough, you can see the cuts where he's paused and edited and stuff. And it looks like it's done in 30 seconds, but in reality, he can draw, and he's been drawing for 30, 40 years and all that. So he got the experience. You look at Jim Leigh; he puts the pen to the paper, and he a couple hours later lifts it off, and the artwork's finished. Right? There are those people out there that are savants, that just
Sure.
but they've also put in the hard work, and it's just like anything in life. The hard, you look, years ago, back when phosphorescent comics was a thing. Australian, it was the Australian publisher that was around for a few years. I paid for an entire plane trip to Supernova in Queensland for the weekend, because at the time we didn't have a Supernova in Melbourne. We only had the anime. Can't remember the name of it now. But yeah, paid for a trip to get to Queensland. Spent there the whole weekend. To go put my portfolio in front of Phosphorescent Comics, which was about the only Australian publisher. I drew about a dozen pieces for it, and opened it up and showed him, and he's like, "Where are the sequentials?" And all I've drawn is pinups.
Pinups.
And the brain goes, "Oh, of course.
Yeah.
To get into comics, you need to draw sequential. You need, you're going to have these learning moments. You're going to have these realizations of, I should be doing this. I should be doing that." Unfortunately, in Australia, you get, with these conventions, go along and put your artwork in front of all the famous artists, get their feedback. It'll always be usually pretty nice. You'll have them, work on this and work on that, and I like this and I like that. But artists generally give artists, positive feedback. They don't like to tear you a new one. And then there was once when the Scott Ellie came out from Dark Horse. He was an editor, and I went and put that comic in front of him. I spent 4 years on, and he ripped it to shreds. Absolutely ripped it to shreds. And I wish I had a tape recorder, because every bit of advice was what I needed to hear. It was constructive criticism to the absolute nth degree.
Yeah.
It was. We don't have enough of those sort of editors over in Australia at a convention that can help you jump in your knowledge and jump in the realization, and know what to work on, and this is what you need to work on, this is how you do it. You can't do it this way, you can't do that, you can't do this, you need to do this. You need a lot more of that, and we don't have enough of it in Australia.
Well, the
because as
editing
artists,
is
we empathize.
incredibly important, man. And I think when you're starting, as you were sort of touching on, and you don't realize, and you finally get some sequentials together, to have a person that's put comic books together and can see how things flow, and how by changing that you can flip that perspective to quicken or slow the pacing of it down. Do you really need that page? It's dragging out. What is the purpose? Like all of those questions that sometimes you fail to ask yourself. And it's super important. There's a lot of people that I've spoken to, not just yourself, on Chinwags, that often say that a good editor has saved them, like some heartache, man, along the way. And sometimes, you just got to, I don't know, man, you just take it as it is. I think sometimes you learn stuff, and, you take what works for you, what doesn't, I guess, like, and just Frankenstein it all together to learn along the way, I've been caned too, don't you worry about it. It's like, okay,
we all have, and like still, you still make, like, I still make obvious mistakes, because my brain sometimes doesn't, like it learns a rule, but this needs to be this way. I still draw most of like, if I'm thinking of a panel, my brain goes, I don't know which way it'll be on the screen, but my brain goes, I'll draw it right to left, right? The
Yep.
the character or the action goes right to left. That's the way I see it in my brain.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
when you're putting it down on the page, it needs to be the opposite way. And it's
Mm.
because when you open a book, that's the way we read. We're not
Mm.
Japanese. Maybe I should have been born in Japan because to write the opposite way. But like it's I'm constantly, I'll draw it out in the sketch and I'll put it on the page and go, oh, flip,
Lip.
and
Yeah.
and read
Yeah.
through.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
You
guilty of
need,
that too,
yeah,
man. Guilty of that from time to
yeah.
time as well. It's when you're drawing, like while we're in the thick of it, because like I do like talking about drawing. It's a bit I'm a bit
Mm,
passionate about drawing. I mean, in case anyone didn't realize, with when you're laying out your stories and things, and you said that like what I like about you is, I guess to a certain extent, you're doing the postie note thing, like where you're getting your bits and pieces you like, you're putting them on the wall, you're seeing how things are moving and that. Do you break down, like when you were talking previous, like just earlier about with your iPad and you're drawing like pencils, at that stage you're drawing your
mm.
pencils and you're to like your first layer. Um, is that have you already got thumbnails for that page worked out up on the wall, or are you drawing and thumbnailing and storytelling fresh onto like that moment? And that's why you sort of have to like layer and layer till you get your head around what you're like forming. Does that make any
Yeah.
sense to
So yeah, it makes sense. So I see things in scenes, right? Scenes
you?
that are going to happen, right? And a scene
Yep,
can be, 1 page to 6 pages.
yep,
So I start drawing sketches like, as the transition of the scene goes on, like one person talking to the next person, talking to the next person, talking to the next person, right? And
yep,
quite often as I'm laying out, on the first page I'll have one or two people, and on the next page I'll have three or four panels, and then gets to the end of the scene and I've got nine, because as I'm drawing it's all just, the idea is, I'll just chuck them on the page. This
mm,
is how I sort of wanted to start, chucking them on the page, and these are the follow-up of
mm.
if it's making sense. Yeah, this is the
Yeah,
follow-up panels, and this, so I sort of sketch out a scene, and then I realize that all the drawings have bunched up at the back, and I need to stretch them back over
yeah,
so there's an equal amount of panels per page. So anything from 3 to 6. I don't tend to go more than that because I get very it's I've gotten better at it, but I get very jumbled up when I'm trying to. If I've got 6 panels on a page, it's because I've imported two or three from another page. If I
okay.
I most pages tend to stick to 3 to 4 panels,
Yep.
because if I draw any more than that, my brain gets overwhelmed by what's happening on the page.
Hmm. Hmm.
There's too much going on, and I need
Yep.
to start breaking it down and just work on one panel at a time.
Yep.
Um, and that's where laying them out and printing them out, and I just I'll I'll sketch it on a big canvas. Not
Yep.
I don't stick to uh, um, an A3 or whatever.
Yep.
I sketch them on like 3 or 4 size, so I can move panels around, and I generally print them out, cut them out, and stick them up on the wall, and so I can see a timeline,
And
and then
you're
I'll
moving them.
move
Gotcha.
move around.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
and
No,
then
that's
once
cool, man.
once I once it's sort of starting to fit to pages, like, oh, these 4 can fit on that page and it'll make a nice flow, and this, it's like
And then
building
you've
a
like
puzzle.
basically taken the jigsaw pieces, you've got them together on your wall, and you've formatted the page. So then once that's
Yeah.
sort of for that scene, and then once that's done, you can go on to the next lot of jigsaws and visually
And the
piece
next scene.
as you're working it out. Dude, I don't know if anyone else that I've heard of has done that, but that is a very unique and interesting way of doing it, man. And whatever works, dude. Like, the process is the process, man. I'm not, whatever gets your goodness on that page, man, and comic book out, But like that's
it also works for storyline. Like, like you hear a lot of writers talk about a timeline of when things happen, and I've formulated the panels down to a page and a few pages, and then you pin the pages up, and then you start to form the timeline of that scene works before that one, then you realize, oh, there needs to be a in between scene to get from one to the next, and you start filling in the blanks. A lot of writers talk about a timeline. If you're having trouble scripting something, you might have an ending to a story, you might have a starting to a story, but you don't have the middles. Stick it up in front of you and work out your steps in between.
Well, that's
I
tell you what it does remind me of, because now that we're talking, I've this before.
Internet's cut. I've lost the internet. Keep talking, Andrew. Yeah, I can't hear. I can't hear. I can't hear what's going on. My internet dropped, or Leigh's internet has dropped. No, it's not mine. Must be Nick. Anyway, I've just got me on the screen, so now's a good time. Check out the link. Him. We'll go through to my Kickstarter.
Check out the link.
You have at least a dozen pages up there to peruse. There are plenty of rewards, and probably the only possibility of getting commissions from me this year. I haven't done commissions in quite a few years trying to get this book created. So if you want a commission from me, is the best chance to do that. But yeah, Slam is a fantasy, fire-breathing dragons, wizards, huge battles, like what you read in novels, but when visualized. Used to read the Lord of the Rings and stuff and go, oh, I would love to see this drawn, or I'd love to see this in a comic book or something, and that's what I've done, is taken my own story and chucked it in
Just got a
to a
question
comic.
here.
Do the dragons talk? Yes, they talk. The dragons, some of them are shapeshifters, so they not in this issue, but you will see that they can shift into human form too. One of them likes to spend a lot of time down the tavern and drink himself silly. But Yeah, I watch a lot of things that have a dragon in it, and you'll
Oh
see
yeah.
the dragon is, the the thing that the knight needs to get past before taking on the human king. When it should be the boss battle should be the dragon. So I'm going to inject a lot of
Yeah.
dragons into this. Um,
That's what I'm looking forward to seeing.
we're gonna there's two in the first issue, and um, one's my favorite. Will be one of the main characters, Devon Kari, which he's a little bit of a lost soul, but he'll find his way through the story. And yeah, some others are created by some dark wizards that to take down the world. Hi, Leigh.
Talking of wizards, bloody internet. Thanks to Sis in the
Abracadabra.
background there. Yeah, you're a good man, Sis. That's why he's the real wizard, Like, I don't know what happened there. Technology, it's beyond me. I'm a technological rice cake. But what I was getting back to, Andrew, sorry to interrupt
When
you
it
because we'll come
works,
back
it's
to what
great.
you're talking about with Sis, is it reminds
no worries.
me of French cinema. A lot of those dudes used to take 32 point notes, right? So 32 notes
Yeah.
of scenes, and then they would put them on a wall and they would move them around like until things started, like making
Oh
sense.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then
yeah,
they would drop
yeah.
it into like, this is how I connect that. That's how I connect that. So that's, I guess, what that reminded me of, your process there, man, to a certain extent. Yeah, again, it's just strange how
Yeah.
like everyone's connected, but all the processes are different, mate. I spend ages doing each different page for me. Every issue is different. Sometimes I write a synopsis and do this and do the thumbnails, and then sometimes I have the script and then do it off that, and then other times I've got the script and then go back the artwork, and then I go back and do the script. So it's whatever it is. But I just wanted to ask you, man, because it's like your artwork that I've seen
Yeah.
on Kickstarter and all that. Very visual, very like big. Like there's a particular image of your dragon, and you're looking at it from um, over the shoulder, and its wings are out. There's an image, and it's a beautiful image too, man. It's really nice, like wide shot, and yeah, it struck me. My question to you again, while we're on the artwork, is who you were like an image. You liked your image comics and stuff like that, but who was like a primary artist
Yeah.
of
Michael
yours
Turner.
that like really like? Aha, gotcha. I can see,
Yeah.
that, and I can see oh god, I can't think of his name now. Uh, he was a
A
DC artist. He used to do Huntress.
Yeah. Ed Beans. No.
No, no, he was a very
Dennis.
clean artist, like possible. I don't know, but what? Anyway, we'll get back to your man.
Yeah.
What attracted you to him? What was his comic book that like you
I walked into
looked
that
at and
comic
you
shop
just
down
went,
in
"Wow, that's the stuff."
Yeah. I walked into the comic shop down in Cheltenham, and there was a Witchblade #1 on the shelf, and I picked it up and I had a look through it and I went, "Oh, this art's really cool. I don't like the painted
Mm,
cover," and put it back. And a month later, I walked
mm.
in, and issue 2 was in, and issue 1 was $30 or something ridiculous on the shelf, and I was like, "Oh, I missed out on something."
Oh,
So I
yeah.
picked up issue 2, and I was sold ever since. It was like it was just he just had, you know, it yeah, you found your favorite, band. You know, uh, there was something about Guns N' Roses when I was a teenager that was just my soul music, for the longest time. Yeah, the subject matter not so much, but that guitaring was slash playing, it just played my tune, and that's what Michael
Yeah.
Turner was for me. And like every band that has their influences from the generation before, no matter what I do, like the structure of when I'm sketching out my poses and that, there's the Michael Turner influence in there. They're all sort of structured like the way, not, I don't know, this is the way I see it. But I see the Michael Turner poses and go, oh, okay, but now I need to try and improve on top of it, not be, stop being the, the fan and start being your own self, never being a chaser of style, just create it so it looks good in your own head,
Yeah, well, that's where, like you're getting to before about this, the doubt, like when you can get to that point of like, because you are your own worst critic, and sometimes like chasing perfection, man, is one of those things that you're never going to catch. So you do have to get to a certain point where if you think it's cool, I'm happy with that. Like you may see, like you need a, like, hey, I could do that better, but I've got to get it done now. Like I'll remember the next time I try and do something like that, I'm gonna have, like, but for now, this is where I'm at. Like you were saying, that's my skill level. You take a note, like I've got to work on that, Like I keep little notes of things too that I've got to work on, like just um man, I don't know. Like, for example, hands. Like when the first issue of Battle for Bustle came out, like I just remember I struggled with hands a lot. So I spent like a month, man, quite literally, like taking photos of my hands, like people's hands, like that I knew holding things, doing things, and would just draw hands, like, and like my mates were like, man, how many hands are you drawing? It's like I gotta draw them.
Well,
Like you just pick those and improve.
Hands are still an issue. Hands are still an issue.
Yeah,
I had a friend walk into my room a couple of years ago, into my little drawing room, and he looked at all the pictures I had sketched out on the wall and goes, "Where are all their hands? You must struggle with them."
Yeah.
I've got the sketch out of the pose, but the hands are missing. I'll work on the hands later. I can draw feet better than I can hands.
Yeah. They can be tricky hands. They're one of those. I think if you can, like, it's quite amazing. Hands in art, and not just comic book art, but in paintings and things like that too, or any like medium. You can get just as much emotion across with hands as what you can with eyes, or facial features and stuff. I mean, simple, like, stop, like backhand, like fight, like peace, like just little things, man, integral. But no, I'm glad.
It's extension of the. It's an extension of the expression. You have just a hand in front of a person's face. Is just it portrays the what you're trying to get off in the facial expression, and it helps. But there's still art.
Well, Shawnee just chucked up a comment there, mate, that said that's what pockets are for. So maybe that's a trick. If we ever get to like everyone can walk around in trench coats and stuff, man, like, and shoot people from inside their pockets like they used to in like 50s detective, like Robert Mitchum movies, man. Like see some dude in the corner, what's he doing? Bang, like. And a little hole in the pocket. See, I thought about that. Thanks, Shawnee. Look at where my mind went into like these strange areas. And Andrew liked that one too. I could tell by the smile on his face. It's yeah, Andrew. Sorry about the look, man. I have no control over the internet, obviously, and the technological wonders of this universe that like man has provided us, and particularly in Australia with the NBN. But some of the fluidity of Chinwag over the time has been myself or other guests just dropping out for short periods. So for that, I do apologise. But you know, you're a natural, mate. You didn't seem to panic, you know, like, which is good. We had Sis there. I think Sis might have had a little bit of panic on him from looking at him briefly there. I think he might be thinking.
I thought it was my end. Yeah.
Yeah. No. I don't know, man. It doesn't happen often, but every now and then, just gone, and then you come back, you know.
Yeah.
But that's
when it works, it's great. When it works, it's great. Modern technology.
Yeah.
When it works, it's great. When it doesn't.
I agree. What do you? Okay, Jeffrey Beats is asking. You're a Witchblade man, Andrew. So, what do you think of the Witchblade reboot?
The issue was here yesterday. Issue 2 really delves into like the first one. I was like, you know, they're rebooting, you know, so they're treading over the same thing, and I'm like, yeah, I prefer the first. Yeah, I still prefer the original to the first issue. You know, I can see where they're going. Issue 2, though, they really delved into the mindset of gaining the Witchblade, which it was sort of, you know, in the original, you know, it was like like Spider-Man when he got his powers. He was off being Spider-Man. You know, I've got my powers. I'm doing the stuff, sort of thing. Same with the Witchblade. She gained the Witchblade, and then she was using it or not using it, or you know, struggling with adapting to it, sort of thing. With this new one, you can really see that she's really thinking it through and experiencing what is happening to her. So I think they've really sort of hit a deeper level of thought into creating the book. Interested to see how it goes in issue 3, but I'm impressed in the writing. The artwork I like. It's not something I would normally. I think he's like, you know, 90% out of 100% sort of thing. Really good art, really functional art, really good storytelling. Just needs a little bit for my brain to go, oh, you know, he's a A-lister. I'm not putting him down or anything. It's just, you know, my taste. Yeah. But yeah, issue 2, that I reckon the art works better. You know, definitely. Like he really is coming into his own. Like, you know, he really tells a story well. But yeah. I'm enjoying it.
How many stars?
Normally, how many stars? It's hard. It's like watching. It's like watching. Whenever they do a reboot, like, you know, the Disney are doing their Lion King and all that sort of stuff. The live action ones. It makes you go back and watch the original, you know, and because you really enjoyed the original. And the new ones are for a new generation. I understand that. I enjoy, they're okay. I'll go back and read the original. With this one, I'm really sort of keen to see, where it goes, and I don't know, I'd give it an 8.5 out of 10, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Just because I'd still prefer Michael Turner drawing it, but that's not going to happen.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I didn't even realize there was a Witchblade reboot out, man. I'm myself so out of touch with like all of those sorts of comic books. I'm very minimally aware. I'm just deeply embedded in Australian comics at the moment. All right, going to the portal. All right, Shawnee.
It's up here somewhere. Yeah.
Hang on, bud. We've been a bit in and out, so I'm not sure if this has been covered already. But do you work complete page to page or pencil the whole book, then ink the whole book? I guess to an extent, Shawnee, we have covered that. But Andrew, give Shawnee, one of their regulars and a great fan of comics, a bit of a quick page to page pencil the whole book, then ink the whole book?
No.
I
No.
reckon, Sean, if you go back about 15 minutes, mate, in the video, you'll probably get all the information you want.
I work on how do I explain it? So, well, when I used to draw like pin-ups or posters before I started drawing sequential, I'd draw the idea, and then walk away from it, and the next day I'd come back and I would go, oh, and I'd add a bit more to it. I'd have an extra idea, and over the course of a week, it'd build up into an idea. I cannot draw a full page because I'll have the basic layout and ideas, but I have a really good idea for that panel, the first panel, but the second panel, it's still got some percolating to do. So I'll go work on a different page, which I've gotten an idea for, a different panel that, I've got an idea for that panel over there because it's all laid out. You're sitting there, you're looking at the wall and you go, oh, I know how to finish that panel, and you work on that panel. So it's all over the place, but it's always a panel after panel after panel. So it's still chugging along, yeah. Yeah, but
Putting
the
the
same
track
with
in as you go.
yeah. But yeah, definitely sort of once I've gotten to inks, colors, it's all sort of, it's still in the working out process. To keep the enthusiasm and the determination going, work on bits that I want to work on or I have ideas to work on. And eventually you'll whittle it down to there's, half a dozen panels left that you don't want to work on, but you have to.
Yeah. That's guilty. Yeah, of getting to those, man. It's you always can't outrun them, hey.
No, they're always there. They're always there.
Yeah,
It's
but they're
always got to
usually
do with the building.
they're always the ones too, man, that are most important to the storytelling. You know what I mean? Like they're not the flashy stuff you like drawing. They're the little nitty gritty things that you got to get right. All right, Andrew. So, mate, I am going to move us into your project of the moment because I want you to be able to, sink your teeth in and like really get across to people, like what Slayham is all about. That address for any of you out there, if you can't see it and you're off drawing or listening, doing the dishes or doing whatever you're doing, it is Slayham, SLAYMN.com. That will take you to the Kickstarter. And basically, I'm going to let Andrew give you the, what is it, Andrew, for any of the people out there that have no idea?
So can I share a screen so I can show you a video?
You sure can. You should be able to do that somewhere there. If not, Sis should be able to give you a hand, man. But yeah, I'm a technological rice cake. so yeah, don't look at me, pal, mate. I can't get the internet to work.
Turn it on, turn it off again. That's all I know.
Yeah, man, that's it. Like, give it a kick on the way.
So, unplug it. Yeah, walk away from it. Swear your head off. Come back. And then come back, and it should work. So this is a video from the Kickstarter. I don't think the sound will come through. It didn't last time. But this is Raventhorn, and he's after a crystal shard. He's out for revenge. He's been outcast by his society, and he's out to find the crystal to get his revenge. This is my dragon that he encounters along the way. And this is some of the dark dragons that are out in the world, causing havoc. They're trying to tear the world down. But yeah, he's a lot of we've got some war tellers here, which are sort of like wizards are from the Southlands. They're helping to defend from the dark dragons.
Yeah. So like this with Slayham here and these characters, because man, that's some sweet looking artwork, dude. I got to tell you, like those dragons are pretty cool looking too. You know, like nice and visual. Like, how long did it take you to set? Like, obviously, Slayham is a work of passion. You've been doing it for a few years. How have you felt getting it to the level now yourself in a creative sense that it's nearly coming to fruition in front of you, mate, and Nick May agrees the art is great. Can't wait to read the book. Neither can I. Like, how are you feeling about it now?
I'm just overjoyed because like I like Nick can't wait to read the book. I can't wait to have it in my hands. Like
Yeah.
it's it's been a dream to create something and to be it my own creation on top of all that is just phenomenal. Like to have all the pieces of the puzzle almost together, and we're almost ready to ship it off to get a proof from the printer. Like it's just it's look, it can. I've got issue 2 and 3 sort of half sketched out on the wall, and I'm ready to dive into that to create more. But like just can you tell? I'm a book nerd, right? I've got books galore,
Yeah.
comics
No,
galore.
that's cool, man. Like,
These are things I worship, and to have something that I can put on the shelf next to them, that I'm just thoroughly overjoyed. It's been a lot of hard work, a lot of hard slog. I've gotten to the stage this year that I quit at work. I got a little bit of savings in my bank to let's try and finish it, and let's try and get this off the ground. I know I'm going to have to go back to work by Christmas, and I got sort of a job lined up. But in the meantime, I'm just going to draw and just create, every day as much as I can. The amount of it's cathartic. Yeah,
Siberian
the amount of
production. It is.
times I the amount of times I've spent 10 hours in a bakery and then had to go do a couple of shifts at Safeway, or sorry, Woolworths these days. Yeah, like the other day I sat down, I think I did about 10 hours of drawing. I just like, and it's like, oh my God, what I've dreamed of doing, and for the time being to get this finished and get this off the ground, it's what I gotta do, chuck the hard work in and see how it goes,
Yeah.
We all, I think of those hours, like stacking shelves at 3 in the morning and getting a scribble of paper in my pocket and scribbling down an idea and put it in and going back to monotonous of stacking shelves and all that. Like all that hard work has been getting to this point,
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I get you,
yeah.
man. I totally understand. I hope I get to be on one of the other uh, comics live streams in the near future with you on it, man. And you've got your proof, because I I love if you think you're excited now, like when you get that thing back and you're sitting there, you know what I mean, and you're actually holding it and smelling it and stuff like that. And
I'm going to smell it. I'll go.
oh yes, yes. Another member of the Comic Sniffers Club. If anyone's just tuning in to this show for the first time, that may sound odd out of context. Go back and watch a few episodes and you'll understand. But like Bottle of Comic, mate, that's the cologne of this channel. At least Chinwag anyway. But man, yeah, there's nothing better, eh? Like I reckon you'll be smiling like a Cheshire cat, man. Shawnee, is there a bit of grief that it's coming to an end?
No, because there's a second and a third issue planned.
Yeah. So it's continuing.
And with the pandemic the last few years, and there was a lot of time to sketch a lot of it out. So there's a lot of it's already laid out. Like, like I said, I've got 8 pin boards. 3 up here are full of issue 2. The back of my door is all issue 3, blue tacked on the back of the door. Like it's just, I'm not getting ahead of myself though. But like this, all focus has to be on number 1 and get number 1 out. I'm not going to get ahead of myself. Whether it's successful or not. I've got a bit of time this year, and I'm going to dig into issue 2. And create my own Empire Strikes Back. Yeah.
Well, the other thing is too, man. It's like it's something that comes up a little bit too. Like as you just said, like success. I mean, everyone has a different version of success, and I mean, judging from how happy and like excited you are about the prospect, like this dream project of yours coming together and the situation that you've got yourself in. I mean, there's elements of success in every perception of leg of the journey, mate. And dream. I mean, one of my funny things that I always say to people is some people dream, some people think a house is success, and some people, like want to own a dog, mate. It just depends on the level that you want to get to. With you, like I can relate to with you deciding to stand down from your work, because I decided once I got sober that one of the things that I did, man, is I totally rearranged my whole life, man, to block work into certain days, and I compartmentalize my mind now. It's just part of my ritual that I have to do, like it's part of like recovery and things. So I've got block days that I know what I've got to do, tasks that I've got to get done, and then I have several days where it's like, this is what I'm doing from 5 a.m. in the morning, you know what I mean, all the way through to at least 4 or 5 in the afternoon. There's no bullshit, like it's like, the only reasons I stop are for cigarettes and things. And if I don't feel like doing it that day, it's just too bad. It's just, you're doing it, and you just push through. And sometimes, like some days are better than others, but man, like you're an example of one step at a time. If it's just one panel today or one panel this week, you know what I mean? Like you're still on your way to putting it together, and you're still, making it happen, man. So, I mean, progress is progress, and it takes as it needs to.
Oh, there was I think Mark Wade said years, or Mark Wade might have been repeating somebody else, but some comics writer was saying that being successful in like nearly anything that you do, you need 3 things: talent, you need determination, and you need to be on time. Right now, I don't know about the other things, but I've always had the determination, and it was this year where the pages were starting to come together. Was like I got to use it before I get too old and the determination goes out the window. The determination has always been keeping me at it, and by the sounds of it, and you're like you were explaining your days, you're determined. You're determined to do it. You're determined to sit down and do what you enjoy or do what you need to do to create what you want to create. And there's some satisfaction in that, that's its own level of success. If you're getting to do what you want to do instead of the daily grind, or I've worked my whole life. You name it, whatever hour shift, from 11 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock at night, 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. Pay the bills, pay the mortgage, take care of the family responsibilities. That's all. It's all what comes first with me. And the drawing has always had to come second, and I'm quite happy for it to come second, because you hold family and responsibilities above that, and to get a chance to flip that for a short time, I'm going to take it. I'm going to work my fucking ass off.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
They say if you find a job that you love, something that you love, and you'll never work a day in your life. Well, that's bullshit. If you find something that you love, you work your fucking ass off to make sure you keep bloody doing it. You make sure you put in the bloody hard work to make sure you can achieve what you want to bloody achieve.
Yeah. Well, man, you got to put work in. It's like the other thing is too that the other thing is too, from putting work into anything, and I mean, it's not just the art. It's not just artwork. It's writing or any skill or creative thing that you want to do. It could be gardening. It could be anything. Like I'm a big believer in creativity. In general, is good for mental health as well. But sometimes, like you can't. Drawing like comic books can be lonely. Like it's not something that you can have 10 of your mates like sitting over there yapping away to you while you're in like right in the middle of like doing something that's essential to the comic book. And I mean, I choose to do what I do in my lifestyle because I have the opportunity, and much like yourself, mate, is like I'm you know I'm like in my mid 40s. I've worked, man. I've done everything from sweeping floors to furniture, like to house removals and stuff like that, to pay bills and like food on the table and shit like that. And it just got to a point as well, man. Like when after spending 20 years as basically a drunk, you know what I mean, like, and not putting enough time into my work, I thought, well, from speaking to people that were older than me, family, mentors, and stuff in the community, like they very early on reminded me that, hey, you're not getting younger. You got to look after, your eyesight. Something could happen to you next week. You may get sick. Like you don't wish anything onto anyone at all, but this stuff does happen at some point, and you'd rather have a go at something earlier than, if I do it tomorrow, I'll do it next week, I'll do it next week. Well, I can tell you, and you're possibly the same, so I don't want to speak for both of us, but I will, and I don't like doing it, but I will assume we're on a similar wavelength, is what we wanted to do when we were 25, we put off because other responsibilities got in there, and now we're at this age and we're like, you know what, like, hey, gotta go, like it's now, and
it's now. And now comes the new fear of, I'm getting older. I want to be able to finish this before I cark it.
Yeah. No, I have that fear too, man. Like every year, the comic book gets an issue shorter. It's started off at like 9 issues, and then I got all like 2 years ago. I was like, I can get 12, and then like now people ask me like, how many issues is it? And I'm like, fucking be lucky if it gets to 5 or 6. So like, but it's just the things that happen to you, man. But like, just it's life gets in the way sometimes, but don't give up on things, mate. That's what success is differently too. And the Australian comic book industry is a little bit different to like the other international, like things, but no less community based and supportive, mate. And very encouraging. And there's plenty of people out there like yourself who are happy to like pass on, like their stories and tales and, like things that you've learned through it and everything.
One thing I love coming out of, speaking to like recently with all these comic streams, and you get the chance to actually talk to the creators. We're all artists that, in the corner of the dark room, creating what we want to create, screaming out to the world, "Hey, notice me." Um, is the concepts that come out of them. You talk and you talk to them, and you help them out a little bit with as much advice as like, take what you will out of this is my experience. I'm never somebody who's you got to do it this way, this way, this way, this way. Um, you just like, this is what worked for me. This is what worked for other friends that I know that are doing similar thing. Take what you want out of it and try and apply to it to get to a new level. But the concepts that come out of the younger creators' heads and all that, I love what people are doing. I love it. Like, going to Bendigo Con and chatting with other, catching up with a lot of people I haven't talked to for years and all that, and just hearing what their ideas and what they're creating, sort of thing. I love this sort of stuff. It's creativity. Spurns more creativity. It energizes you and makes you want to do more. And helping others when you can is a great thing. It's rewarding in its own self. You can make some great friends by being kind and being helpful. There's too many nasty people in the world that won't give you the time of day. Stuff them. Find your own. Find your own crew. Find people that you can bounce off of. Internet these days. Sure, it drops out, but you can talk to people. You can talk to people in Queensland. You can talk. You can talk to people in Perth. You can talk to people in Tasmania. Like, try and keep conversations going and groups going, and catch ups and all that. I was always petrified to get into the city to the Melbourne creators catch up, because it's scary, and we're all, most of us are at least some part introvert, and putting yourself out there sometimes doesn't work. You're at conventions and you watch people go by and you go, I'll hand this out to the next person, and the next person walks by. I'll hand it out to the next person. Next person walks by. Okay, hi. But like, the Melbourne creators, I've been in twice this year, and I've had nothing but great conversations. And it's a forcing yourself to get out of your comfort zone to make those conversations happen. But like, it's incredibly rewarding in its own self, especially after what we've been through in the last whatever how many ever years it was we struggled with this COVID shit. Try and get yourself out of your comfort zone. Go chat with some other creators, whether it's online or a meetup or something, and it will spurn you on. They'll encourage you, and you encourage them, and we'll make a better, brighter world, some better comics.
Mate, I think everything you just said then pretty right on the spot to how I think too, man. I think it starts with kindness. I think it starts with service, which is like helping people any way you can in a community. Uh, I just think there's no other way of doing things. I'm not one for negativity. I don't like it in people. I don't like and people can have opinions. We've spoken about that, but in with me, I get immense joy, man, out of feeling your energy and like your smile at the end when I asked you about, I can't wait to see your proof, and you were like, "Oh, I'm going to sniff that book," and you got G'd up, because that is to me what it's about. Like I remember my first comic book coming to me, and that was the moment where I never cared, like if I never made another comic book at that point. You know what I mean? It was the determination to do that and get it done. And then it was through meeting people like-minded in the community, like yourself, and earlier on with a lot of the other guys that started it off, and then getting to meet the other people that have been doing this stuff for like 20 or 30 years, and then being invested and realizing that there is so much history in Australian comics that like people don't even understand or grasp the depth and the talent and the amount of work that's out there, and still to be uncovered again, or like a light put on it again, like some years later. And the hard work, the determination, the tears, the blood, the loss, like that goes into the thing that I'm pretty sure we all wonder why we do it, but there's the compulsion and the necessity within us to tell a story. And
Yeah.
there's so
We
many
do it
different.
because we can't not. We
That's it,
can't
man.
not do it. Yeah.
That's it. I was talking to someone yesterday, and um, I was, like showing them some, like sketches of the next issue of Battle for Bustle. That's all, done on paper and everything. I start inking this weekend, and a few pages are done, but like, real crux is like, man, I'm back up 5 o'clock in the morning sitting here, like, and man, I thought to myself, man, I must be a masochist, mate. Like, what am I doing? I just have to, there's no other way you can describe it. So you're lucky,
Yeah.
like that there is a community of like-minded people around you to encourage you, man, when you have those moments of doubt, because I have doubt. There was a certain time, after the last issue came out, man, like in the last few weeks, like I've been like, do I really want to do the next issue? Maybe I could put it off for a bit longer, but it's, it's gotta do it, just, um, you're not being yourself if you stop being creative. If you're a creative, you know what I mean. So anyway, you can get it done, man. Get it
It's
done.
very
But
it's very hard to stay creative. Like you have to have the inner child. It's a lot of people that you come across in your life, in your working life, that you tell a joke to, and they just don't have a sense of humor to. It's like the creativity got drummed out of them, and now they're a serious pain in the neck, and and you have to
that's
have
a
that
nice
inner
way.
child.
Yeah, you do, man.
Yeah,
You do.
you got to look. Yeah,
It's strange that you go down these paths, because obviously, like I've gone down a path, and I find it interesting that some of your philosophies, while not coming from the same path that I've been on, like intersect, particularly with that inner child type thing, and the fact that, I mentioned it before, like, you draw as a kid and you paint as a kid, but you get to a certain age and, like it's drummed out of you to be creative, you got to go and, toe the line, do this, you got to do that. And it's like, I don't know, man, because it's like, until I came back to being in touch with that little person inside of me that wanted to like draw all the time and wanted to get it out. I was a miserable so-and-so, man, and life wasn't making much sense to me, man, you know. But now over the last couple of years that I've like really started to get, you know, like in touch with myself, you know, like I'm feeling like, you know, like I'm feeling pretty good and pretty aligned with what I'm doing. I also find in a strange way that the best ideas come to me when I'm not thinking. You know, like it's if I think too hard on something, it escapes me. And then because I practice meditation twice a day, and every time I meditate and I drop into my zone, generally I find that once I've come out of that, it's almost like an absolute waterfall of like all of those ideas and things that I couldn't quite connect together. Just and it's like, okay, you know, I
Yeah.
just had to quiet my mind for that bit, man, to like process.
The front of your brain is getting in the road of your subconscious.
Yeah.
You're trying to work on the problem. The subconscious has worked it all out. You've just got to shut the front part up so the subconscious goes, I've got the answer. I've got the answer. I'm trying to tell you. Just calm down, quiet your mind, and I'll tell
It's
you.
here.
Yeah.
It's come. That's why you can't rush some things too. That's what I realize now is like everyone's like, gotta do it now, gotta do it now. And I just stop. Just it's coming. Just when you're chilling. You know what I mean? It's like it'll just like you know what I'm talking about. You just take those moments around like looking at a, I don't know, like you just water in the yard and you drifted off and you're actively meditating, even though you know you're meditating, and then suddenly it's just like, ding, hey, wow, you know, like there it is, and then you go and get your draw.
I'll say it on record. That Paul McCartney during some documentary said, you know, the bit of paper and the pen by your bed at night, because when you lie down and relax and go to sleep, you have your ideas. And he said, if I didn't have that bit of pen and paper, then there wouldn't be the song "The Yellow Submarine." And I was like, maybe there shouldn't be the song "The Yellow Submarine."
Yeah. No, but you're right, man.
Yeah. It's always when you're not you don't plan for it. You know, like I said, stacking shelves at 3 a.m, you know, and these ideas that come to you, and you're like, I can't stop right down. I just need to have some sort of inkling of idea. Write it down so my brain will remember it later. You know,
Yeah. No, I get you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just everyone
totally.
finds their own way, mate. You know, you and I have sort of found our point at a similar age, and we've had to go through what we've got to get, you know, for you to get to your success, and for me to get through Battle for Bustle, which you know, my goal is to finish that, and sort of everything else comes secondary. Do you know what I mean? Like to that now, and then we'll see where I'm at after that. But that's the mission. But everyone has their goals, and everyone does their thing. You know, everyone has their own roles and paths, man. You know, and you just flow with it and do what you got to do, and be like you, be determined and focused, and just keep chipping away. Andrew, mate, how's as we start winding down our show tonight, mate? With Sis, I'll get you to bring up slayham.com again, please, mate, for everyone out there that hasn't looked at the Kickstarter. For those not watching, SLAYHEMN.com. You have met the creator artist, very fine artist that's worked very hard to do the work, and plenty of time. You've heard his story. It's his work. His mate Julian's helped him out with a lovely script, got the nuances to create this beautiful piece of work. Andrew desperately wants to smell this comic, and he wants to get it into your hands and put it on your bookshelves, and you know, partake and get it out to you, and be, you know, like show you everything that he's been working on. Go to that Kickstarter, back it. There's plenty of tiers. I'll let you take over what you got in terms of your add-ons, mate, and you can let the people and the viewers know what they're in for when like they jump on there.
So yeah, we have not only the comic. You can have we are offering a sketch cover as well. If you want a sketch cover variant, I like buying sketch covers and drawing on them, not to resell them, just to keep for myself. Uh, we're actually making Julian's writing up a audio descriptive version, a PDF that will go out as well. We have a few people that we know are blind that would love to read this story.
Yeah.
So the PDF, that's a descriptive version of every panel, so they can play it and hear what the story is. We have that. I have got commissions. There's a couple of tiers. There's one tier where I'm offering A5 sketches. Another one where I'm offering the sketch cover that I'll draw a sketch on the cover for you. And there are some other higher priced A3 commissions. And the first time I'm actually offering coloring for any sort of commission as well. I think there's only one left of those available. But we also have Julian's very kindly put in 3 of his novels, his trilogy of novels. So if you're into fantasy novels, it's a Viking-based mythology trilogy that is extremely well written. So yeah, we have one tier that has the short novella to dip your toes in, or we have a tier that's got all 3 of the novels for you. Also offering my previous art book as well. There's only a limited amount that I'm offering through the Kickstarter because it is an expensive thing to send. So there is it's a bit more, a little bit more on the shipping. But yeah, I had plenty of requests to make it available on the Kickstarter, so I'm quite happy to bear the brunt of some of the shipping for that, because it is a heavier. It goes up into the package, the parcel category, instead of just the flat pack for the book. But yeah, if you want to dip your toes in, I've got the $9 digital copy as well. It's so you can read it on your iPad or your computer as well. I have a lot of friends that create comic books, but they're overseas, and I would like to support them, and I would like to read their comic as well. But I can't. Sometimes you just can't afford $30 to ship out. So I've put the digital copy on, just so you know, if you want to dip your toes in, it's $9. It's not going to hurt your bank. I know everybody's struggling out there at the moment. You know, I'm in the same boat. But yeah, there's plenty of different options there. I also got some also some add-ons. There are some there's 6 or 7 sketches that I did up of the characters. They're available to add as add-ons. Nobody's snapped them up yet, but there's only one of a kind of them, so there's only 7 sketches there. So if you would like one of them, that's there as well. I think I'm covering everything. But yeah, there's plenty of options. If you go to siam.com, it will send you through to the Kickstarter. And I think I've laid it out pretty self-explanatory. Plenty of pretty pictures and but even so, like I've been sharing some of the lettered pages on Instagram and Facebook and Kara and Threads and TikTok, and I think that's all. I'm trying to cover all bases. I'm trying to get it all out.
Well, that's what you got to do.
There's plenty of examples.
How long you got left in the campaign?
9 days. 9 days. We're
9 days, and
we're almost 70% at the time.
so you got 9 days. 9 days to bring home 30%, hey, to get the dream done. All right. Now, Nick May put a comment up before, and I second it if Shane can bring it up. And it's, come on, viewers, let's see this Kickstarter get over the line ASAP. You've met the man this evening, viewers from Chinwag. You've heard the eloquence, chase a dream, trying to plug away at it. Fine artist, great creator, nice man, as we've seen it. Slayhem.com, SLAYHEMN.com is where you can go. Back that Kickstarter, get Andrew and Julian over the line so you can get it in your hands. And we can see Andrew smiling like a Cheshire cat in a couple of weeks, because, that's what it's all about, man, is, helping our brother cross the line. So we do what we can do. I'm
also at Oz Comic Con in Brisbane this weekend. So if you need to come, if you're going there and you need any questions asked about it, I'm quite happy to answer them.
There you go. All right. So Oz Comic Con in Brisbane. Andrew will be there on Saturday and Sunday. So that'll put you at what, like the 12th and the 13th, or the 13th, 14th this weekend? Something to that effect it would be.
Yep. Something like that.
Yeah, we'll go with that. It's Saturday and Sunday. It'll be in someone's past and it's in the future now, and we're talking about it in the present. So, you guys can work it out, like don't leave it to us. Andrew will be in the right place, and I'll probably still be floating about wondering what happened in 1999. Yeah, man, I'm not sure, Andrew. I've been 25 years trying to work that out, mate. Yeah. 14th and 15th. Thank you, Sis. You're a champion. Yep. Yeah, and Sis will be floating around too. So go and check out and say good day to Andrew and Shane and all the people that are involved. Go and buy some comic books. Andrew Law, thank you very much for joining the Chinwag family, mate. It's been a pleasure. I'm so very happy that you are. No, man, it's my pleasure to always chat, man, and particularly meet you, as I have enjoyed your artwork of what I've seen of it, and I'm very much looking forward to getting Slayhem once it's up and running, as I very gladly back that as well too. Just quality fantasy comic book, man, by a man who's chasing his dreams, and that's a beautiful thing, because that's what it's all about. All right, viewers, thank you very much for everyone that sent in comments. Thank you so much for the regulars that are always here encouraging Chinwag and comics on all the shows. Thank you very much for the new viewers who have popped up and, to say good day and support Andrew and see what he's got to do and what he's been creating, and see what Chinwag's about. Just remember what we've spoken about here tonight. Comics is myself and Shane are very big on mental health. Look after your brothers and sisters. Just be kind. Reach out to someone you haven't heard from in a while. Say good day, because you can make them smile. That might change their day. And in the flip that, you may get a smile from that, and it may change your day as well. So we'll be back next week, next Tuesday. Thank you very much to Andrew. Thank you very much to everyone out there. Community is unity, and Chinwag is and always will be made with love. See you later.
This show is sponsored by the Comics Shop. Check out over to comics.shop to pick up a variety of Australian comics from multiple creators and publishers, all for one flat postage rate. We hope you enjoyed the show.